The sophistication, speed, and diversity of evolving cyber attack techniques today requires security leaders to strengthen what is known as the cyber kill chain model, which can better equip organizations to understand ransomware, security breaches, and advanced persistent attacks. I'm Wyatt Cash with Scoop News Group, and here to talk to us today about combating modern threats is Derek Manky, Chief for the Security Insights and Global Threat Alliances at Fortinet's FortiGuard Labs. Derek, thank you so much for joining us.
Wyatt, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks so much.
So I know FortiGuard Labs recently released a global threat landscape report. Tell us, what is the main takeaway from the latest findings?
Yeah, so we're seeing a consistent theme here of sophistication. First of all, right, this is what I'm referring to as advanced persistent cybercrime, not just threats, but on the cybercrime end. So more sophistication on reconnaissance, weaponization, planning attacks, targeted attacks happening in the realm of cybercrime and ransomware, which is certainly a concern. But on the other side, we're also seeing a lot of these attacks launched at scale and at speed too, right? Weaponizing artificial intelligence as an example. And we have a lot of metrics in the report that cover that. And we're seeing a growing attack surface. Last year was a banner year in terms of the number of net new vulnerabilities that were reported. Is over 20,000 worldwide that were discovered and reported just last year. And so you have this, perforated attack surface, more targets on there, including OT and all these other, Linux was another theme in there too. All of that culminating together on the attack surface. And as I said, now we have this additional issue of speed to deal with.
Well, talk a little more, if you would, about how the rate of exploit is increasing by cyber adversaries today, and how IT leaders and their management should be thinking about how to continue preparing for that.
Yeah, so this is something that the rate of exploit is quite interesting, and it's daunting at the same time. If we look at, we've talked about before, the attackers using automation as an example. As I said, now we're getting into the technology capability of weaponizing machine learning and artificial intelligence. In the report, we actually highlight how attackers, one of their most preferred methods to move through systems is through APIs, which is all automated, as we know. And so what's happening is that rate of exploit, the speed in terms of when a new vulnerability is detected and how quickly attackers capitalize on that, it is increasing dramatically. And look no further than Log4j. In fact, Log4j, as we know, it hit late in the year, in December, but just in a 10-day period, it dominated our statistics for the whole year. A good comparison, if we want to look at a proxy logon attack, which happened in about Q2 of 2021, Microsoft Exchange has a set of 4 vulnerabilities, quite prominent at the time. Log4j, that rate of exploit in terms of how quickly it actually started spreading through those vulnerabilities was 50 times higher than of the proxy logon, which was already a significant issue last year. So that just gives one indication of how quickly these threats can spread like wildfire if not contained.
It certainly sounds like the stakes are only getting higher. Talk to us a little more, if you would, about what other trends that you're seeing in the way of ransomware, malware, and botnets that offers examples of this increased sophistication of threats.
Yeah, so this is the advanced persistent cybercrime. As I said, there's more time being focused on the weaponization phase. Again, looking at how they can add more tools to their toolkit, essentially, right? There's not just one method of an attack. They're looking at multiple 0 days, right? Different ways that they can get into systems, have more advanced social engineering lures. If we look at the cybercrime model itself, so botnets specifically, they're adopting an enterprise model now for these. So it's a multi-purpose botnets is what we're seeing. They used to be monolithic in a sense that they were just used for a DDoS attack or just used for a specific purpose. Now we're seeing them used for multiple, different vectors of attacks being rented out in the as a service model because it's extremely profitable to them. So now you have this whole problem of more of these business affiliates also becoming involved. We talked about that last year with the ransom as a service model. That's one good example of that. And with ransomware specifically, we're also seeing more tactical approaches. And so that is driving the sophistication as well. They're becoming more aggressive, more destructive in terms of really holding that stake higher when it comes to the targeted attacks that they're doing. So they're not just targeting data anymore now. They're looking at services. They're looking at specific things that are seven-figure revenue streams that can go offline, and they're using that as leverage for ransom too.
Well, we'll be sure to include a link to the report in our show notes. But before we go, maybe you could give us your last thoughts on how can organizations strengthen the cyber kill chain to really better defend against these increasingly sophisticated threats?
Absolutely. So, another theme we saw was targeting the work from anywhere environment. So anywhere in that chain, even when you have employees working from anywhere, there is a target looking to redirect traffic to rogue websites, as an example. And you have to understand any point in that kill chain, if you can stop those attacks, even through training. Education and training of workforce is very important, so that they look at those links obviously before clicking on them, as we always talk about, identity verification, multi-factor authentication. And also from a solution standpoint, really having an integrated fabric and mesh architecture approach is critical to this. As I said, the time is now. I mean, we are seeing that weaponization of AI. We talked about the speed theme. The only way to combat speed is with integrated technology, with actionable threat intelligence as well. Without that, it's an uphill battle, as we know. And so there's no holistic approach, but having that technology fabric layer to mitigate the speed is critical, but also training the workforce and really having an effective incident response plan as well. As I said, it's not a matter of if, but when, because these threats are becoming more sophisticated, that cyber criminals are going to come knocking at the door.
Oh, great and important points. Thank you for sharing them. And Derek Manky, thank you also for just joining us today to share some of your insights from the latest FortiGuard Labs report. Really appreciate your insights and kind of giving our audience a better feel for what to look ahead for.
Absolutely. There's still good news ahead. As I said, there's always this daunting task of that advancing threat landscape, but there's a lot of viable options to combat it.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.